All right, in the next 5 minutes, we're going to decode the Fort Bragg VA homebuyer playbook. Think of this as your essential mission briefing for a successful home purchase in the Fayetteville area. Let's dive right in.
So, you just got your PCS orders. You know the feeling, right? That clock starts ticking, loudly. Relocating to a new duty station is always a challenge, and trying to buy a house on a tight timeline, well, that just cranks up the stress level. This guide is all about cutting through that noise and giving you a clear path forward.
And here's the first piece of intel you absolutely need to know. Buying a home in North Carolina, it's just different. The state has some really unique real estate rules, especially a process called due diligence, that can put you at serious financial risk if you're not prepared.
Okay, let's talk about the money. We're going to start with the financial reality of using your VA loan benefits right here in the Fort Bragg market.
Let's just bust this myth right now. This is probably the single biggest misconception about the VA loan. Yes, it's an incredible benefit that lets you buy with zero down payment. But does that mean you just show up to closing with empty pockets? No way. You are definitely going to have some pretty significant out-of-pocket expenses.
So how much are we talking about really? Well, for a pretty typical $300,000 home in the Fayetteville area, you should expect your closing costs to land somewhere in this range. Yeah, that number can be a real shocker, so let's break down exactly where it's all coming from.
These costs, they add up fast. You've got fees for your lender, you've got the appraisal to make sure the home's value is legit, attorney fees for all the legal paperwork, title insurance to protect you, and of course the home inspection. And just remember, this is all totally separate from your VA funding fee if that applies to you.
Okay, listen up, because this is the most important local rule you need to understand to protect your wallet. We're talking about North Carolina's due diligence process.
So what on earth is it? Well, the due diligence period is basically your official investigation window. Once your offer is accepted, the clock starts on a set amount of time you have to get your inspections done, get the appraisal back, and get your loan finalized. But, and this is a big but, there's a unique financial catch to it. Let's break down the two types of money you'll put on the line. Earnest money, that's pretty standard stuff. It's a good faith deposit that's held safely in an escrow account. But here's where North Carolina throws a major curveball, the due diligence fee. You pay this money directly to the seller, and it's almost always non-refundable if you back out for pretty much any reason. This fee right here is your biggest financial risk in the entire deal.
Okay, now that we understand the costs and the local rules of engagement, let's actually build out a mission plan. This part lays out the step-by-step process for a successful home purchase.
Following a structured timeline like this is absolutely crucial for a smooth PCS move. This process takes you all the way from getting those orders and that pre-approval right up to closing day. The whole point here is to stop you from making those reactive, emotional, and potentially very costly decisions.
All right, let's get into some real on-the-ground intel. Once your offer is accepted, it's inspection time. This section is all about the common issues you're likely to find in homes around the Fort Bragg area.
These are the big ones that inspectors find all the time in Fayetteville. The local climate, all that humidity, it can lead to crawl space moisture and drainage issues. You also want to keep an eye out for older electrical panels and roof damage from the intense sun and storms. Just knowing these red flags ahead of time gives you a huge advantage.
This right here is the mindset you need to have. When that inspection report comes back and it's got a list of issues, do not panic. I repeat, do not panic. See those findings for what they are. Data points. It's leverage you can use to negotiate repairs or maybe even a price adjustment with the seller.
And that brings us to the final phase, executing the mission. Let's pull all this intel together and build a strategy for crafting an offer that actually wins.
So here are 4 keys to a really strong offer. First, price your offer based on real data, what other homes have actually sold for. Second, be super disciplined with that non-refundable due diligence fee. Third, and this is a big one, ask for seller concessions. This is where the seller agrees to pay for some of your closing costs. And finally, when you're negotiating repairs, focus on the big stuff, the major safety and structural issues.
Just look at how powerful seller concessions can be. On a $300,000 home, a 3% concession is $9,000. So if your closing costs are, say, $7,500, that concession covers them completely. This is one of the absolute best strategies to reduce how much cash you have to bring to the table.
So really, the key takeaway from this whole briefing is that having a plan, getting the right intel, and being prepared can transform what feels like a stressful, uncertain PCS move into a confident and financially smart home purchase. And that's really the bottom line, isn't it? By understanding the terrain before you even start looking at houses, you're putting yourself in a much, much stronger position to make a smart, informed decision for you and your family.
So I'll just leave you with this question. You now have the core intel on the costs, the local rules, and the negotiation strategies. Is your home buying plan ready for the Fort Bragg market?